Picture this. You are a teen in Germany, 1941. Your family is from the working class and is skeptical of Hitler and his rise to power. Under his rule, all adolescents are to join the Hitler Youths, a mandatory youth group. Instead, every day you walk to a nearby cafe and, with a group of like-minded youths, you'll listen to band music, go on hikes, steal from the Hitler Youths, spread Allied propaganda, and, in extreme cases, shelter fugitives, make graffiti, and even engage in armed resistance. You are a member of the Edelweiss Pirates. This group of anti-Nazi youth baffled, befuddled, and outright scared the Nazi regime, because how could these teens who had been raised in Nazi schools, taught Nazi ways, and had no contact with anything to say otherwise rebel so easily? This topic can show the ever-present theme of continuity and change through the idea that rebellion against harsh control is nothing short of a human concept that resurfaces itself even today. The Edelweiss Pirates, known as German as the Edelweiss Piraten, were a youth resistance group in Germany from around 1939 to 1945, formed as a direct alternative to the conformist Hitler Youth. The group itself was loosely organized and likely included a minimum of 5,000 individuals, according to a Libcom article on the screen now. The activities done in the Pirates could be things like wearing band clothing, sporting flowing hair, singing and playing music, going on hikes, or even just hanging out. On the other hand, they also, if a bit more rarely, made graffiti, engaged in theft and military sabotage, and even harbored fugitives later in the war, such as in 1944, where the Ehrenfeld group harbored an unknown, thought to be large amount of forced laborers, concentration camp escapees, and Jewish individuals amongst the ranks of over 100, according to this essay by a PhD on the screen now. In Nazi Germany, viewing them as criminals and delinquents rather than any actual resistance movement, even after their actions escalated. If a member of the Pirates was caught, the punishment for minor offenses could be public shaming, such as a shaved head, or imprisonment in jails or youth concentration camps. For more serious offenses, especially in later years of the war, they could be sent to an actual concentration camp, or be publicly executed, as 13 members of the Ehrenfelder group were after they killed an unknown Gestapo chief in late 1944. A lot of general statements have been made, so let's talk about some specific individuals and groups that the Edelweiss Pirates consisted of. There were many smaller groups, but some major ones were the Navajos in Cologne, the Kittelbach Pirates of Dusseldorf and Oberhausen, and the Roving Dudes in Essen. Few specific people are known to have been members of the Pirates, but one known figure is Walter Mayer, who, according to this interview linked on the screen now, was involved with the Pirates from a young age. His father, an anti-Nazi, refused to let him enroll in a Nazi school, permitting him to join the Hitler Youth. However, he left the group, founded a gang of Edelweiss Pirates, specifically the Kittelbach Pirates from Dusseldorf, and even harbored a Jewish friend in his basement. He and his gang mainly targeted the Hitler Youth, often sabotaging their equipment, such as bicycles. Eventually, after taking a pair of shoes from a bombed store, he was charged with 4 years in prison. After some time, he was sent to the concentration camp Ravensbrück, where he was forced to mine a stone quarry. After contracting tuberculosis from the conditions of the camp, he decided to try to escape before he was put to death for his condition. Over cover of fog, Walter ran to a farmhouse, where the farmer gave him his son's uniform and helped him board a train back to Dusseldorf, from whence he eventually moved to America, achieving a successful career before losing a battle with cancer in 2015. What with all these exploits, one would think that the Edelweiss Pirates would be hailed by the Allies in the wake of the war, but they were regarded as little more than common criminals, with only some receiving honors such as Righteous Among the Nations years after the war, and the Pirates as a whole only being declared actual resistance fighters in 2005 after being seen as delinquents for decades. How could this organization of teenagers who rebelled against Hitler's empire after years of brainwashing with no outside interference, whom the Nazis themselves feared for their lone defiance, be hailed as anything short of heroes? Even today, the efforts of the Edelweiss Pirates are not taught in classrooms, rarely honored in memorials, and seldom researched, even though they shattered the perception of Nazi Germany as a single complacent mindset. Heck, I could hardly find any sources for this project. It boils down to one thing. They were disorganized enough that people often think of their actions as just general rebellion, not understanding their function as a singular group. People rebelling against dictatorship, tyranny, and moral instability is a deeply human concept, and people rebelling against the same evil at the same time happens naturally, but a lot of people just don't care to make the connection. Another example of this, and a modern parallel to the Edelweiss Pirates, is the currently active Freedom of Russia Legion. In an article by private intelligence firm Grey Dynamics on the screen now, they describe a paramilitary group of Russian soldiers currently fighting for Ukraine on political and moral grounds. They often work in more covert ways, such as sabotage missions, raids, and reconnaissance into different points in Russia, although frontline combat is also a large part of the organization. There are thought to be upwards of 3,000 individuals as of 2024, and that number seems to be continually rising. They also play a large part in the mental battlefield, breaking the notion of Russia as a solidarity and giving hope to many souls in Russia, Ukraine, and the world, very similarly to as the Pirates did for Nazi Germany. It becomes evident, after a bit of research, that no dictatorship is completely solid, and even in the most isolated of systems, no government can force all people to conform. As time passes and more with resistance groups come and go, newer ones have more success to work with, more information to process. And yet, people who hunger for power become more adept and do not cease. It seems as though there is a constant battle in the world, power against freedom, good against evil, each side growing stronger and stronger each year and each decade. And even if history may brush them off, the actions of the Edelweiss Pirates affected not only Nazi Germany during the war, but the world as a whole.